All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jill here from the Pet Bistro and Dr. Christina Cole from Advanced Animal Chiropractic. Welcome.
Hi.
Another Monday night with Chiro Chat. Look at us go.
I know. This is a good relationship.
I know. So I'm so glad you're able to join us tonight. And we've gone over quite a few different reasons that chiropractic care can be beneficial for our animals. And tonight we're just going to talk a little bit more about our feline friends, right?
Yeah, you got it.
All righty. So, and I have a cat trying to get downstairs currently, so I might have to go check that out. But why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about Advanced Animal Chiropractic?
Sure. I am Dr. Christina. I am one of the two doctors in Advanced Animal Chiropractic. I started the practice over 6 years ago now, and we work strictly on animals, the 3- and 4-legged variety for the most part. And we work at a variety of locations, but one of our biggest ones is you guys at the Pet Bistro. So you can find us pretty often there. So we just focus on animals and we do not work on humans anymore, but we are board certified to work on your pets. And we pretty much see them for just about any condition under the sun because we don't really focus on the symptoms so much as just working on the spine and the extremities and hoping that does the trick for a lot of these dogs and cats and horses.
Awesome. So you grew up with cats and dogs, right? Yep. So we all know cats are a little bit more unique creatures. What would you say? I know you guys probably see, definitely, at least at our store, see more dogs than cats. But let's talk a little bit about cat chiropractic. I have plenty of stories to share. And how cats can benefit from them, or maybe reasons. We'll get into reasons and to consider chiropractic for your cat. But cats, oh my goodness, where do we start? I have so many. Where do you want to start with cats?
Cats, I would say there's not necessarily like one specific thing that we tend to see a lot of. It's really a smorgasbord. You get a little bit of everything and they kind of surprise you. You know, you can come in for pretty much anything under the sun, and sometimes they shock me in how well they respond. So one of the things we tell like everybody is that most animals within 3 visits, you'll at least see some kind of change, right? So that way, chiropractic is either going to help or not do anything. Well, with cats, I think that they even respond a little bit faster. And I don't know if it's just because they're more cognizant of their bodies, or they nap 23 hours a day, or what the deal is. We're not taking them on W's. We're not taking them to the park for the most part. They're not having play dates. Even though they're social, they're way more aloof when it comes to like their sociality or whatever you want to call it. So I don't think they're really putting their bodies through the ringer like a lot of dogs do. So we don't usually see them as often, and we don't see them for the same reasons. Like, whereas we see a lot of dogs for orthopedic problems, that's not really the case with cats. We do see the occasional limp, but it's few and far between. And usually that limp is something that clears up very fast. Tends to be something like they jumped off the top of a fridge and just jammed up their hip or something. For the most part, though, they are so like lithe and flexible and that sort of thing that it's not like orthopedic issues aren't the main thing. I would say we tend to see cats for more almost like you'll notice a little bit of a gait difference, or sometimes it's more internal. Occasionally we get the ear infections, but it just kind of depends. So cats are definitely a wonky one. I can't say like, if you see this, it's definitely a chiropractic case. It might not be. And a lot of times I think with cats, we get a lot of folks that are like, we've tried everything and are just, this is like a long shot. We're going to see if chiropractic helps. And then lo and behold, it does. I mean, you guys know Hyper. We've been seeing Hyper for almost 6 years now. And she's comes in because she's got diabetes, and literally her glucose levels, it's so crazy. She'll get adjusted and go from like a 300 to a 100, which is insane. And it's just one of those things where there's reasons across the board. Like there's just no one main thing or whatever. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Jill, can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Oh, I was muted.
Okay, now I can hear you.
My cat's trying to get downstairs and he's making quite the
Oh, okay,
ruckus. So
now I can hear you.
I was going to say some of the other cats that come to mind too is Peach, who was born with deformities.
Yep.
So sometimes that is a great reason for chiropractic. When we just experienced this with our cat Viper, which I have a fun photo of Viper. Let me share this with you. So there's Viper. He's such a nugget. So the one thing that I was noticing with Viper is that he wasn't acting like he was not. His litter box habits had changed, and then some other things had changed, like personality wise. The way he was moving about and structurally, like that was something I could tell. I know it's not common, but cats do get ear infections.
Yep, sometimes I get ear infections. I've got another one that I'm working on right now that had kind of what I would say is as close to like disc disease as we've seen in dogs and a cat, but it's something else was causing it. And she went the gamut. They went to the neurologist. They went all these different things, and basically was told like after 6 months, that's the extent of what kind of healing your cat's going to have. And it happened because I remember she said it was because her cat was trying to jump over like a gate to go see their dog, their little dachshund, and she got caught and dangled by the one leg for an extended period. And I think that was just basically like a trauma to her back. And I mean, she has gone from dragging to she's like consciously putting her weight bearing on her paws now. So that's super cool. But yeah, I would say I will think with cats, a lot of it does tend to be like a trauma, like a cat was stepped on or they missed a jump, which isn't super common. And a lot of times I think if your cat misses a jump, there's probably something already going on, because for the most part, they don't do that. And then we do definitely see like a sizable amount of just senior cats too, because of the same thing there. You can just kind of notice they're not quite the same or something's off. But even like you said with Viper, like the litter box habits tends to be a big clue for a lot of people that something is off with their cat. And then definitely like constipation is huge when it comes to like any kind of incontinence, constipation, or blockage. I would say we see a bulk of that in cats too.
Yeah, and I've heard quite a few success stories with cats after they get adjusted too, that they actually are able to pass stool, especially if they've been constipated. Or it's an ongoing issue, like the constipation happens, once a month or something of that, that nature.
Yeah.
How many cats have you guys seen, or have you seen any results with like IBD? Because I know there's a lot of cats that get diagnosed, so irritable bowel, where they have, chronic diarrhea, loose stool type issues. Is that something that you think? I guess I always think chiropractic could help nutritionally because of all the nerves that wrap around from the spine to the intestines.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt, but if animals like that are on a poor diet or a diet that's not right for them, it's not going to make a big difference. But if you get your pet like switched over to like a species appropriate diet and they're still having soft stool, I would say, yes, you're probably going to see that'll kind of put you over the edge and get you more to what you want as far as like bowel and bladder habits are. But yeah, it's more so occasionally we'll see them for allergies too. It just kind of depends. Like everybody's a little bit different. I know we work on Fiona, and she gets very like she'll bite at her back legs when something's like painful or bothering her. And sometimes it's a little bit of allergy too, but when she gets adjusted, that seems to go down quite a bit. So sometimes I think it depends on how your cat presents, because if they present with pain in a way that is like gnawing at different things or rubbing up against certain things incessantly, like that's something that usually we can help with. But yeah, it kind of runs the gamut. We've had cats that have tripped that do really well. I see a couple different cats that have very, very sensitive backs. Like when you either they won't let you pet them, or when you do pet them, they really arch. Like not like the this feels good, like a stay away from me kind of arch. And a lot of times we see those guys too. I have one client that I've probably seen again for almost 6 years, and we probably see her quarterly, and it's almost like clockwork. This cat will do wonderfully, and then all of a sudden she won't be jumping, or she just seems very uncomfortable, and you'll just like stroke down her back and it's just skin flinching the whole way down.
Which totally brings up and reminds me too, like skin rolling. What is it? It's
hyperesthesia.
Thank you. Yes. Which a lot, it's amazing. It's actually quite astonishing how many cats have that, or maybe have been diagnosed with it, but it's not like extreme. And most often, from a veterinary standpoint, conventionally, the treatment for that is to put your dog or your cat on an anti-seizure medication. Where I know we have had a couple customers come in with their cat that has been diagnosed with that, and through chiropractic care and CBD tincture has improved pretty dramatically without doing a anti-seizure medication. So that is, it seems like it's more common over the last couple of years. I've heard more customers mention that.
Yeah.
Than ever before, but that is, chiropractic would be something to consider because of all the nerve endings. I think that's really what that comes down to, is that sensitivity.
Yeah. And even cats, like growing up, we had a cat that had seizures when he was younger. And I'd like to think like when he would have them, I think it's a little bit more drastic than when dogs have them. At least with Sammy, he would literally run like a bat out of hell and like run into things and furniture, and it's a horrible thing to witness. But it wasn't like with the dog, where a lot of times they just stop where they are and have the seizure. Like cats, he would go bananas. It was almost like he knew it was coming, and he'd just run everywhere. And I think like he probably hurt himself pretty bad while he was, running everywhere. So I have no idea if chiropractic would have helped with his seizures, but I would think it would have at least helped with the aftermath of it.
Sure. And I mean, that brings up another valid reason for chiropractic too, is, I mean, there's not, I can't say I've seen a lot of cats with seizures, but if they're there, then, chiropractic, just like dogs, chiropractic can help for kitties.
Yeah.
What about like hip issues? I know that's kind of uncommon too, but I feel like that's kind of in the cat world has been coming up more recently over the last couple of years. Cats with like hip and joint type issues, or chronic arthritis, or even older cats that as they age get arthritic, that chiropractic can help with that. We've
seen a couple that have actually had hip dysplasia. I think all the ones that we saw with hip dysplasia though are actually like breeder cats. Like they're a specific breed. So we've seen a couple different Manx cats, which are the ones that have basically spina bifida and like an odd end of their spinal column. And then we've seen a couple other ones that are what's Rin? Why am I the Savannah? We've seen a Savannah that had some issues. And I honestly just think and I wonder if this is why we don't see as much as far as hip issues go, is just because most cats are mutts. Like who knows where they're coming from? Like they mix with everything. So I think a lot of times when you basically have all these different genetics playing a part in it, you don't really get a lot of inbreeding. Like they kind of work their way out. And the other thing is, and it's sad, but like a lot of times when kitties have litters, it's not like they're having them in a family home like a lot of dog breeders are. Like cats are probably having their litters in the wild or wherever they may be. And if one's not fit, the mama's going to move on. They just don't survive from the get-go. So a part of me does wonder if that plays some, like there's just this natural instinct where it's a little bit more of that survival of the fittest mentality in cats, and they're still a little bit more wild. So maybe we're not bringing up these animals that may have had issues long term. You don't really just see as nearly as much as far as like deformities and structural problems when it comes to cats. They're just a very different breed altogether.
Right. Yeah. And then of course there's always the freak accidents that seem to happen only by
I'm in your crew. Like,
Oh my goodness.
your cats are so healthy, except for the traumas they go through because they're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so the one freak accident where Tango, our Bengal jumps from the floor to the top of the fridge, which, some cats are really agile and have good vertical height jumping. Well, he had jumped and didn't look like he was going to make it. So I went to like help him up. And when he did that, I scared him and he aborted his jump. But in the meantime, got his back leg hooked in the fridge door handle, and yeah, he tweaked his back leg pretty good. So chiropractic helped quite a bit get him back in alignment, and a couple adjustments.
Yeah,
good. Oh goodness, what else do we have? We have a lot of tail stuff happening at our house. So.
You've got a lot of tail stuff. I mean, you had both Rin and was it Poppy or Kayanga that also had the swollen tail?
Poppy, yeah. So Poppy has like a small grape size cyst midway down her tail. That's been there for about a year and a half. It doesn't seem to bother her. She flicks that thing around. We don't. She's pretty sassy when she has her little walk. And then Rin, there was a do you remember what bone it was on? It was on like the underside. It wasn't a vertebrae. It was like a connector.
Oh, his ligament?
Yeah, it was like a little connector bone on the underside of his tail. So we don't know if he like hyperextended it when another cat was chasing him, or he went under the couch, and we don't know what happened with Holmes.
It's the sacrotuberous ligament. That one a lot of times is what's involved in that kind of stuff, and doesn't really get super aggravated, but some reason your cat's just
he was so painful for like a week. We thought for sure he broke his tail. We had x-rays done and everything, and it wasn't until we did the x-ray that we found that little tiny ligament that was just had broken. So that was he was pretty painful from that. Viper, my F1 Bengal, we have he's not even a cat that I could go and pick up and bring him down here, show you guys. You have to appreciate him the way he is. He's a little on the feral side. But we have been able to get a couple adjustments for him. So he was the one that was having his litter box routine had changed, and I could tell the back end was bugging him because he kept trying to he stops like mid walk and tries to shift and groom himself, and it's like he can't get comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I also noticed that he was not going up like our wall. So we have a wall system that has a post, and he wasn't going up the post and things like that. So it was just like minor stuff. And he has had some urinary issues in the past, like a UTI and whatnot. So, and he's a little overweight. He's my cat. That the only way we can do anything is to feed him a little bit of food. So, and then he also goes and steals everybody's food.
Well, actually, that just reminded me. I will say we do see quite a bit of like TMJ in cats because a lot of them tend to get bad teeth, and after they get a dental, that can be really difficult. And so a lot of times people will notice their cats like either not being able to fully open or close their jaws, or they'll do like a lot of like licking and just like lip smacking and stuff like that. So that's something we see a lot of as well.
Yeah. And that's something that we've been dealing with Rin as well. It's almost like he's always, his neck area, atlas, all that is always out. Kayanga's been adjusted a couple times, and Kayanga is most of you guys have seen her at the store. She is our Bengal that is retired from our breeder. So she has had a couple litters of kittens, which was many years ago, 8+ years ago. But after birth, a lot changes in the body. So that's always a great reason for chiropractic. Yeah, pretty much everyone in my house is
everyone in your house has been adjusted for sure.
Yeah.
And then I mean, literally, like I can think of a bunch of different cats, but they're all in for different things. I mean, Grant just saw one last week that came in for a urinary blockage. He wasn't able to urinate, and literally within an hour he was able to. So it's really interesting, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why they jack themselves up, but they do. They do, and they definitely hold adjustments a lot longer than dogs because they just like are more in tune. I just think they're smarter. They just are in tune with their body. I mean, there's no way even around it. They're smarter. They're like more on the human level when it comes to smarts, and they
Well, and they do a lot. I feel like they do a lot of stretching too.
yeah,
Or at least
yoga.
you see them stretching like during their routine. You know, they
Mhm.
eat, they sleep, they play. They, you
Yeah.
know, there's stretching involved when they get up from sleeping, and they do that pattern so many times throughout the day that I think there is a little bit more stretching involved than what
Yeah,
our canines do.
totally.
So the one question I think we get asked most often at the store is, how do you guys handle cats that are maybe not the friendliest?
So usually if we have a not so friendly kitty, I tend to be the one that sees them instead of Grant. Grant somehow always lucks out with like the coolest cats. So people will say something about how their cat might be like a little bit snotty, and then they're just like the nicest cats ever, and Grant has no issues. But I, on the other hand, have a few battle wounds from the cat community. Well, I would say we've had two really, really, I don't even know if aggressive might be the right word for one of them, but just, and I think it's because they were in pain. So a lot,
Sure.
it's one of those things like, I don't know that I've ever really dealt with a cat that's naturally aggressive. They became that way or are just in the interim that way because they're painful. Um,
Mhm.
one of which in school, they actually advised us to use a pillowcase. So to have the owner put the cat in a pillowcase and then you can work through that. It's calming. They're kind of like, it's almost like they're I mean, it's like a cat in a bag,
In
but
a sling.
they're like in a sling, but it kind of not even darkens, but they can't really see what's going around them. And we haven't ever messed. I know a couple like of the cat clinics will use like a special, like a cup that they'll put over their eyes or to calm them. Uh,
Mhm.
but that's just too many cooks in the kitchen for us. So it tends to be, we either swaddle them with a towel or a blanket, or we'll use a pillowcase. And
Mhm.
I will say the swaddle technique we learned a little bit like maybe 2 years ago. And I think that's a bit more effective just because they kind of cocoon and then you can work on them. And it's not very often that it's actually something in their limbs. So if you can't work on like the paws, it's not the end of the world, but at least that way you can get through their whole spine and you can work on their neck and that sort of thing without a lot of issue. Um, because cats are tough. They're not food motivated. It's not like I can just
Right.
shove cookies in their face and they're like, I will still eat that cookie, but I will eat it once you're done. You keep it. But I've definitely learned the hard way that cats can be bipolar, and you can have a cat that just loves you 1 minute and is purring, and then 2 seconds later will swat you. And so I think that just being very aware of a cat's body language is huge. But yeah, we deal with any kind of cat that's a little bit aggressive or fearful. It's not a difficult thing to do. We've got methods to kind of deal with it. The pillowcase cat, I used to have to wear like mittens, like gloves to work on. I mean, I felt like I was going to, I don't know, do some like engineering or something. But it is pretty shocking how much of a difference like that can make. I mean, the one that we were swaddling, by the end, like I really didn't have to swaddle him anymore. He was okay to be worked on. He knew we were there to help, and he was a constipation cat. So I think that causes them
Mhm.
to be painful when they're backed up like that, and it can cause them to
Yeah.
be really uncomfortable and bloated, and everything hurts. So, but for the most part, we do get a lot of like hissy cats or cats that will make a lot of noises, but it's not often that turns into aggression. For the most part, they're pretty good about it. And I also just think we know like how to handle that situation so that they don't have too much wiggle room to roam to kind of establish any kind of dominance in a room or wherever we might be working on them. So yeah, I would say if somebody has a cat that's a little bit fearful or more on the not so nice side, if they're looking to get in, probably they should schedule with me instead of Grant. If you've got a cool, nice, lazy Garfield cat, Grant is your guy. Cats.
Awesome. And I think some of that fear comes from cats not wanting to go into their carrier to go to the clinic. And I think there's a lot of sterile smells at the clinic or a lot of other animal smells that, and it just amps them up too. So there's, the fear coming and the anxiety coming from the owner because they've dealt with it at a clinic perspective where sometimes too, we can always have some lavender essential oil on our hands to help calm them, which seems to help in the consult room as well. And not having that clinic setting can sometimes be helpful with the kitties. So
Definitely.
I know, I think we get that question a lot. Like, I don't know about my cat.
Yeah. We do get it often, between that and like an aggressive dog. And sometimes we get horses that are not really broken yet either. And people are like, how do you handle said things? Well, they have to get handled eventually. So we'll make it work.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Good. I don't know. Is there anything else you think that we've missed out on cats?
I don't think so. I mean, I was thinking when you were talking about something earlier, as far as like arthritis in cats, like that is something we see. And I do think it's happening younger and younger. And I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind it, whether the diets have just kind of taken a little bit of a downturn or what. But, growing up, our cats lived to be 20 and 23 and 22. So like when I think of cats and old, I think of a 19-year-old cat or older. I don't think of a 12-year-old as an old cat. And a lot of times folks will come in and say they have an old cat, and I'll look at x-rays and it looks like an old cat, and you don't understand really why that's happening. So I really don't have answers for that, but I will say I have noticed arthritis in a little bit of the younger generation. And I'm not sure if it's just because a lot of the food has become more carb loaded, and especially when it comes to cats, even more than dogs, like there's pretty much straight up carnivores. Like those guys need their meats. So when you're swapping over to a lot of carb, that can be a problem. I mean, that's a pro-inflammatory diet, which leads to arthritis. So, that I think is a really big factor when it comes to cats. But outside of that, they're just cats. They're crazy,
They are unique creatures. I wish I had more answers about felines.
They're so goofy.
They are goofy. Perfect. So moving on, when it comes to supplements, I know a lot of the things that we talked about tonight, we have talked about supplements in the past. We do have anti-inflammatory supplements. We have options for hip and joint if that's an issue. Obviously, nutrition's a huge one for them. So if we're dealing with IBD or digestive issues or constipation, we can look at some of the dietary items or even supplements like essential fatty acids. So your salmon oils, coconut oils, those are all great for chronic constipation issues. We have a lot of liquid or tincture options for kitties. So sometimes it's really hard to get cats to convince them to eat an herbal supplement or a powdered herbal supplement, especially some of these really fantastic Chinese herbs. They are bitter, and that is just not your cat's jam. So something we always like to do when we get our kittens is we like to work with imprinting. So working in different meat protein options, getting a nice rotation in so they have different, a palette for like different proteins. And I always actually mix in supplements when they're young too. So I do actually mix in powdered supplements, liquid supplements, to try and get them used to different flavors. So if we get down the road that we have to add something, that they don't turn their nose up. Sometimes it's just finding a really yummy, awesome canned food or raw food or something that they always consistently eat for you to just always those things in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But liquid tinctures, and cats are smart. People don't give cats enough credit. Sometimes if you have a tincture and you're coming at your cat with a dropper and they see it, they're gone, they're under the bed, or they're, in the cat cubby or whatever it is, they are hiding from you, and that is not about to happen. Or some cats they turn aggressive. So there is, some cats you can just take and scruff them and squirt a couple drops of herbal remedy in their mouth. Other cats, no way, Jose. So it is, it can be challenging to really find a good solution for supplements for cats. But I do find that the herbal supplements cats typically do really well with because they aren't bitter and you're not shoving a capsule or a pill or something down their throat, which is not a fun adventure with kitties by any means. And people get frustrated. So you get stressed, and then that stress, then, you know, they pick up on all that anxiety and stress that you're feeling, and then they get that way. And then it's just, you might as well just walk away, around yourself, abort mission, and start over later.
Sounds about right.
It's not fun. So we do have some tricks up our sleeves with supplement recommendations, but for kitties, we really recommend. The other thing that I like about liquid tinctures is a lot of times it's a very small amount. So I actually have Viper, the one that I showed you the picture of, and then Poppy. They both get CBD oil daily. Viper gets a couple other supplements for urinary support and digestive support. I actually put it right in his food. Again, like I told you, he loves food, eats it, no problem. Poppy, we do nettle tincture with her for some allergies, and she eats it right up as well. So all of our cats are actually pretty good about taking supplements as long as it's mixed in their food without a problem. So it really varies. It really varies. And it varies on, I think it sometimes varies on like how friendly the cat is. You know, some cats are still kind of, I want to say a little on the feral side. You know, they have like a wild streak in them, and they can, like you said, they can turn on you on a dime and you have no idea that that's coming. So yeah. Any other tips or tricks for supplements?
You are way more the cat person than I am. So you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I know. I've become very familiar with cat behavior. So many of you guys know that we used to be a full dog only household. We had greyhounds and a husky and an Italian greyhound and a mutt. And all of my greyhounds were pretty prey driven. So aggressive towards small animals, small dogs, and especially cats. Oh, of course, rabbits and squirrels had no match in our yard. And we have, over the last 3 years, transitioned to all cats. So Luce and I have become pretty familiar with cats and cat behaviors and all of the strange things that go along with our feline friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can definitely help you out at the Pet Bistro if you need supplement recommendations, or you're considering chiropractic care and you're not sure, we can help you. So I don't think we have any questions. No, we haven't had any questions come in, but if you guys are watching this or picking it up later on a replay, if you guys have questions, make sure you put it in the comments, and one of us will circle back around and make sure it gets answered. And Christina, why don't you tell us about your chiropractic services? So you guys offer 2 types of appointments.
Yeah, sure. So we've got an initial and a follow-up. The initial is between 20 and 30 minutes long, and that runs $90. It includes a history, a full exam and adjustment, and then the follow-up is the exact same thing, just minus the history. We are at the store Tuesday through Thursday, and then one Saturday a month. Tuesdays and Thursdays are in the evenings. Wednesday is in the morning to early afternoon. Easiest way to schedule is to just go online and do it. There's a book an appointment button, but if you're technologically impaired, like many of us are, you can always call the store, and they'll be happy to help you guys out too.
Yeah, of course. So like Christina said, Tuesday evenings, Dr. Cole is there from 4 until 7 p.m. And then Wednesday morning, Grant is at the store from 10 a.m. to 1. And then Thursday afternoon from 4 p.m. to 7. So plenty. We typically can get you in the either same day or within like the week. If you call early in the week, we can get you in. I know freak accidents happen, and they always seem to happen in the evening hours or on the weekends. So usually you guys can see cats and dogs pretty quickly, especially if there's something that's happened, or if you're dealing with constipation, or cats hide. They're so stoic. So if your cat's having urinary issues or constantly going to the box, pay attention, because they do hide it very well. They'll try and they'll pee outside of the litter box, or they'll try and go, they'll try and squat in like different areas of your house typically because they're trying to relieve themselves and they can't. So just paying attention to cats' behaviors. I always tell people, especially if you have a litter box downstairs, please go downstairs at least once a day and see what's going on, because cats, or they tend to hide. Like you might come home and you haven't seen your cat, and the behavior is different. So pay attention to those things, because that definitely tells us that
something's up.
Something's up. Yeah, you need to get things checked out. So
yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's all things cats.
Yeah.
Plus some. If you guys have any questions, make sure you put it in the comments. If you guys have any suggestions for topics that we can cover, you can let us know that too. We are going to be taking a holiday break next Monday. Can you believe it's Labor Day already?
No.
So a week from today is Labor Day. So there will not be a Chiro Chat on Labor Day Monday, but we will be back the following week at 7:30 with a new topic.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight.